Hello and welcome to the Daily Atheist Morning Show. It is Tuesday, the 28th of January, 2020, and we have got a special guest today. Let me get Chris in here real quick. Here's Chris, my guest host, the
Good morning,
Atheist
everyone.
Pastor. Yes, and here it is. We have got we have got a special guest today. Let me get Chris in here real quick. Here's Chris. The echo. Y'all hear that?
He's got it on the background.
Yes, and here it is. We have got if you might mute it if you're listening to it on your live.
He's got it on the background.
Yes, and here it is. Hold on a second. There we go. Hi, Dave. I had to mute you. If you could, you've got a tab open that has the show open. So if you go on that tab and mute the show, that would be perfect and wonderful for us. Hold on a second. I had to mute you. If you could, you've got a tab open that has the show open. Yeah. So if you go on that tab and mute the show, that would be perfect and wonderful for us. Hold on a second. I had to mute you. If you could, you've got a tab open that has go on that tab and mute the show, that would be perfect and wonderful for us.
I think we're getting the delay of the delay. That's good.
Yeah. You've got a tab open. There we go. I muted you for now. I would maybe if you, I don't know. This is the first. I can't hear you.
So
there we go.
Hang on. Yeah, I think we're good.
We hear you now.
Okay.
We're good.
Yay.
I had to shut that other one down. I couldn't figure out how to mute it. Sorry.
Well, I'll try to, once we get to
mess this up.
Well, that was for free. See, we all got that for free.
Yeah.
I just want to take a moment here to say hi to everybody in the chat. Good morning, Kristen. Math Pig is here. Dave is here. The other Dave. We got a Dave. One of the things that when he's not here, I always mention that he's not here. I say Dave's not here. Because
Dave's not here.
Dave's not here, man. So headphones. I think we're good now. We got it all squared away there. Thank you, Kristen. So it looks like all the usual suspects are here this morning. Randy is here. So thank you, everybody, for showing up. And, of course, thanks to Dave for showing up. If you want to, you can find some of Dave's information down in the description. We've got his links. He's got a website and merch and all that wonderful stuff, Patreon. Go support Dave and his story. And then, of course, our awesome guest host, Chris, or co-host, Chris, the Atheist Pastor. Good morning, guys. Let's try this again.
Good morning. Now, everyone, make sure you smash that like button as well, because you know it's going to be good. I say this every day. You know it's going to be good, but today I can guarantee it's going to be good.
Yes.
So make sure you smash the button. Or if you really hate us, and you're a theist who's just come to troll like we've had, hit the down button. That's okay. We can mix it up. Whatever. Just hit a button. Hit a button. Hopefully the subscribe and the notification bell, but whatever seems to work.
All right. There we go. I'm just getting the banners and stuff going. I'm going to step out and let you guys do some visiting. Is that all right?
Okay.
Awesome. He hangs around a bit longer, so this is
normally do. Well, we got a lot going on in the chat, and I just want to get everything caught up. So you guys go, and I'll be back. I'll pop in here in a minute. Is that all right? All right, y'all go easy on me.
How you doing? How are you, Dave?
I'm good. Good morning. I kind of messed that thing up. We had all kinds of shit going on there.
It's technology in a live show. It's if something doesn't go wrong, then it's just not.
Yeah, it's probably better that I don't try to watch the chat anyway, because I can't see the chat on this one, so that's fine.
It's okay. No one's saying nasty things about you, so
yeah, I love the talk.
So it's all good, but the chat will pop up in the talk anyway. So one thing I found interesting, and I guess we'll get to the main part of your story, but you were a pastor for 30 years.
Well, off and on. I was a Christian, an evangelical Christian, for about 37 years, and much of that time was on staff at churches. But I was always in leadership. I was always involved in leading small groups or Bible studies, or sometimes I was on staff and preaching Sunday mornings, and so it was a mixed bag, but always very involved. 37-something years.
Wow! And when were you raised in it, or did you come to Jesus later in life, or?
Later. Well, not too late. I was 18 years old, right out of high school, and I wasn't raised in it. We were a fairly non-religious home. So I came in in the Jesus movement in the mid-70s and became a Jesus freak.
Ah, yes. The classic born again.
Yep, born again.
Oh, yeah.
New birth.
I've been there. Yeehaw. Yeehaw. So I guess going through your journey, I guess, in Christianity, you sort of mentioned, small group leadership, sometimes on staff at church. I would imagine that that making the decision to leave would have been a fairly impactful one. What sort of led you to that point?
Yeah, it was a process of several years of examining and questioning. The bottom line is I'd lived my whole adult life within this evangelical Christian subculture and never had really examined it. I just kind of accepted it whole cloth. That someone says, my older brother and some other people, this is the way, get saved. And so, yeah, that sounds good. And it must be the right way. Everyone says so. So I'll just do that. Never sat down to really examine the origins of it, the roots of it, the origins of the Bible, all those things. I just kind of assumed and accepted without questioning. And what I did start questioning them later in life, they came up to be quite short.
Mm-hmm. And I guess making that decision to leave, was it something you were able to instantly do, or was it something where I guess you'd come to that disbelief and there was a process in moving out?
Yeah, I'd come to it. It's more like a conclusion rather than a decision. Mm-hmm. It's a conclusion that you come to based upon the evidence not being there, and so when it dawned on me that the stuff I'd been believing wasn't true, then it was an inescapable conclusion. There wasn't a decision to be made. It just was. It's what I was left with.
So obviously, life after Christianity can be a big thing. How did you find that initially? I guess walking away, having been entrenched, I guess, in that evangelical bubble for so long.
It was very lonely. I didn't know anyone that I could talk to on a personal level. All the people in my world had been. I was completely enmeshed in that world, in the evangelical Christian world. All my friends, all my family, everyone I knew. I did not know a single quote unquote atheist that I could go and talk to and say, hey, tell me, what your thinking is. So I was very disoriented and traumatized, really, because I didn't choose to do this. I didn't set out to become an atheist. I just started examining the claims of Christianity and found them to be sorely lacking. And so that's what, like I said, what I was left with. And so I just started looking on the internet and trying to connect with other people. I, Google pastors who've left their faith. I came upon the Clergy Project, which I became a member of and then later a board member of. And so gradually began to build a new community, which now I have in spades.
That's one of the nice things. It can be a bit scary. I know from my personal experience when I left religion and the church, it was a very, very lonely place. But it's a great community we've got, and it's such an open and accepting community. It's I think a nice thing. And even though we can be separated by oceans and having to rely on internet, it's it's still, I think everyone sort of lets everyone in. So obviously there's a lot going on at the moment as far as your diagnosis and I guess the consequences of that. Can I get you to run through exactly, I guess, what's going on at the moment and I guess explain it to, I assume most people here would be aware, but for those who aren't, if you can sort of run through what's going on.
Yeah, it's the disease I was diagnosed with early last year, February of 2019. It's called ALS. I'm not going to try to say what that's, something lateral sclerosis. Anyway, Lou Gehrig's disease. Mm-hmm. Other countries they call it motor neuron disease. I'm not sure that may be what it's called there in Australia.
Yeah.
I know it is in Britain, but it's essentially a muscle, nerve and muscle deterioration where I lose strength in parts of my body over a period of time. They give you 3 to 5 years to live. It's a fatal disease without a cure and without really any treatment options. And so that's kind of the big shift in my life over the last year.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine that would be, fairly intense one. So I guess being out of the faith, I know that when people get this news, they'll tend to be drawn back to it. was there that temptation for you, or were you sort of already too far gone?
Well, they say there are no atheists in foxholes. So I must have returned to God. I'm in a pretty deep foxhole. No, I never thought for a second. I mean, you can't believe what you don't believe. You can't make something make sense if it doesn't make sense. And so, getting a diagnosis like this, there was never a hint of a thought of, oh, it must be God's judgment, or, oh, maybe I should hedge my bets and tell God I was just kidding about all that stuff, and hey, take me back. That never occurred to me, and it would be, I think, ludicrous to even think that it would for anyone who truly has examined it. Now, somebody who's never been in the Christian faith and has always been an unbeliever, then I could see where that temptation might present itself if they came across ALS and said, oh my God, maybe I better turn to this God I've always heard about. But for me, having been in it for so long, I'd already seen that side of the coin, and I knew that it wasn't true. And so there was never any sense of, maybe I better check that out again. That would have been, I just can't imagine anything like that.
And I guess by the same token, I know that often religions will try and use things like this to draw people. Had much of that from, I guess, old church community or people who, I guess, may still be in your life that are religious?
Well, I haven't had anybody directly come to me and say, hey, this is clearly God trying to get your attention. I've got a lot of family members who are still very fervent evangelical believers. Two of my kids are. I've got 3 kids. My 2 daughters are still firmly entrenched in that world. And for that reason, we don't have much relationship. They don't know what to do with me, so they don't do anything with me. So no, I haven't had anyone come to me directly and say, Dave, this is, they may think that, and they may say that among themselves, but no one's had what I would say the courage to say it to me directly.
Okay. So obviously you're on a bit of a journey and a path at the moment where I guess it's the Dying Out Loud tour. How did that come about, and what is it about? Yeah,
it happened very organically. Shortly after my diagnosis, some friends and I were, my initial response was, I'm just going to sell everything. I retired from work. I'm 64, so it was, not that a lot of people retire at this age, but I was doing insurance business, and I couldn't do that anymore because I can't write very well, and so I shut all that down and just thought I would just travel the world as much as I could, as long as I had money, and do things and, just try to live some life, because I didn't really know how long I would have. It could have been a year and I'd been in a wheelchair or bedridden or unable to talk. So because of that, I just thought, just go for it. And so, but I started talking to friends about looking at death as an atheist, as, in contrast to formerly as a Christian. And Marie was one of the friends. You guys had her on her show. She's my manager, and she does a lot of assistant work and social media stuff. And she said, she saw that I wanted to talk about this in a very real and meaningful way. And so she started booking me on shows and at venues to come speak, because I like to talk, former pastor. So what else am I going to do? And so it just kind of happened, and the name just kind of dropped. We didn't sit in a meeting and say, let's come up with a clever name. We just kind of, Dying Out Loud, whatever. That sounds great, so let's do that. And so then everything that's happened has just kind of happened. The T-shirts, the bracelets, WWDD, all that stuff is just has organically happened. It's kind of just taken on a life of its own. And so now we're just traveling as much as we can, and I'm going to do it as long as I have the strength to do it. And we've got a huge full calendar coming up. We haven't booked anything on Australia yet, so you guys get busy over there. Let's do this.
Well, I'd better get something sorted for you. We've got the Opera House here. Maybe we could get that booked out for you.
I don't think it's big enough. Sorry, we got we're doing the stadium tour this year, I think.
All right. Well, look, we've got a couple of stadiums that'll fit 100,000 or close to.
That so might work. Might work.
We might have to do it a couple of days to get everyone.
3 shows. Yeah, multiple shows.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. So with ALS, so you mentioned that eventually you'll be wheelchair bound and bedridden.
Right.
Is that something? Is it something that will just happen suddenly, or is it something where I guess you'll have a bit of lead time? You'll know, all right, well, we're at the point where I've probably got a month.
Yeah, usually it doesn't happen suddenly. That's, as far as terminal diseases go, this is not a bad one to have as far as right now. I don't have to go to doctors all the time. I don't have to take medications. There's no pain. But at the end, it gets really ugly. And but most of the time, it gradually happens where, like my hands and arms are where my symptoms began, and that's where they are now. So it's a gradual process of where I used to be able to do such and such, open a package, button a button, whatever, and now I just can't do that, or I have to have someone help me, or it takes a lot longer. I mean, simple things like getting a shower and getting dressed every day take 3 times longer than they used to because my arms get tired, and so I have to stop and rest. And so it's that kind of thing. It's a gradual deterioration, and I don't know what part of the body it'll go to next. So it's just mine is moving slowly. I've learned that in terms of ALS. I've seen many of them whose progression goes much more quickly than mine has.
So obviously you are getting around. So what kind of, I guess, from the time of the diagnosis, so that was February of 2019, when did you start, I guess, getting out there and speaking about it on a sort of semi-regular basis?
Yeah, I started doing a lot of podcasts and YouTube shows probably back in April, May, pretty quickly, and then I started the speaking gigs. We started scheduling those, and I think the first one of those I did was probably in July of last year. I went to Minneapolis, and then we just pretty much had something almost every weekend throughout the rest of the year up until early December, and then took a break. I went kind of hidden away, and I'm working on a book, so I tried to carve out some time for that. And then I had a thing last weekend in North Carolina here, close to where I am, and then I go to LA this weekend, and then we're off and running. So I've got like one Sunday off through the end of June.
So it's clearly it's sort of been a decent sort of roller coaster ride. I'd imagine the last 6 months, especially, sort of getting out there. Do you find, I guess, getting out and talking about it? I know when we were speaking with Marie yesterday, she said a lot of what she does is very therapeutic for her. Is it the same sort of effect for yourself? Is it something that's therapeutic, or is it just something that you feel you need to do for the community, or what drives you?
I think it's a bit of both, Chris. When I first started doing it, I felt like it's just something I wanted to do. And then the responses we started getting as shows would get released, and people literally all over the world were seeing the shows and hearing podcasts, and then I'd go to these local places and I'd connect with people face to face and hug their necks and cry and laugh together. And it began. I started to see the people's response, which overwhelmed me. If I read you some of the messages I've gotten, they would just it blows my mind, honestly. And so that invigorates me in a way that I never expected, because I didn't stop and think about, okay, what kind of message do I want to create to reach the most people? I just started talking about my experience and my thoughts, and so my thoughts about living and about dying, and the dying out loud thing is really kind of a misnomer, because the thing I talk about the most is living out loud. What does your life look like? How do you live your best life? Are you living your best life? Those kind of things. And so that's what's had an impact on people. And so that invigorates me. Honestly, Chris, if I didn't have this to get up and do every day, I don't know what my life would look like. I think it would be fairly empty, and I think I'd be in a pretty dark place emotionally. So this is like my job now. This is what I do every day, and it energizes me in a way that I never expected.
So one of the themes I've noticed from watching a lot of what you do, and I guess some of the interviews and the shows you've been on, is it's not so much about the dying for you; it is about the living, and that seems to be the biggest theme. That what you're doing is you're choosing to live and to do as much as you can while you can. How did that mindset come about?
That's interesting. I actually started kind of living that way. I'd lived so long as an evangelical Christian, and felt like when I got out of that, I felt like, man, have I wasted the best years of my life? And I could have, a lot of us do have a sense of regret in that way, but I didn't dwell there, and I realized I was just doing the best I could. Maya Angelou says, "Do the best you can do until you know better, and then when you know better, do better." And so when I woke up and realized I have a chance to do better, for a few years after that, I was dwelling with our daughters. I was still married at the time. My wife remained a Christian and still does, and our daughters cut us off relationship-wise. And so I lived with that sadness for several years after my deconversion. I was an atheist, but I still was longing for the relationship with my kids that I'd lost. And so a lot of that consumed me. And after a few years of that, I realized I'm wasting my life here. My life is not what I want it to be. So I rebooted. I left the marriage and I rebooted my life about 3 years ago. And I began to live by the phrase, carpe the fucking diem. It's a mantra that I took on. And it was the way that I wanted to live, carpe the fucking diem. And so I really was living that way before the ALS diagnosis. And I realized that life is nothing more than a collection of moments, and I wanted to live the best moments I could. And so that was my mindset. And then when this happened, I just kind of mashed the accelerator down and started living that way on steroids. And so I think it's a decision that we can make. How do we want to live our life? Intentionally, with trying our best to maximize our days and maximize our moments, or are we letting other people write our story? Are we letting other people dictate how we live our lives? It's really a question of intentionality, I think.
Do you ever get sick about talking about it?
Now, strangely enough, I don't. I think my ego is so large that I just love to talk about myself. I must be that. I can't imagine why I'm not. I tend to think other people are just so tired of hearing about this, but I just, if people want to hear about it, and no, I do enjoy talking. I just did a talk last Sunday with a group in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I kept thinking before I went, I said, how am I going to say anything different? It's all the same thing, but it always comes out differently, and there's always a different angle it takes and a different emphasis that particular day. And so that's kind of what keeps, it keeps me going. No, I don't get tired of it, at least not yet.
So as far as I imagine along your journey, you would have met a number of people. Have you found people in a similar situation? Has, I guess, your being open sort of caused people to get in touch, and how do you deal with, I guess, how do you deal with other people, I guess, almost emotionally leaning on you?
Well, I just try to encourage them best I can. Yes, I have had people reach out with some serious issues and questions facing terminal illnesses, post-traumatic stress syndrome, serious depression. I've had a couple people reach out that have ALS, have had family members die of ALS. So that was, I just try to, as best I can, connect with them on a human level, empathize with them, have compassion, encourage them, and oftentimes, not oftentimes, but sometimes I've had the occasion where I've connected with people online, and we've become connected that way, and then I get to meet them in real life, in person, at a meeting, or we always do a meet and greet wherever we go, and so having that opportunity is just so cool and invigorating, and so that's what keeps me going, honestly.
And how are you dealing with, I guess, what's sort of a semi-celebrity status now within the atheist, the secular community? How is that sort of? How are you dealing with that?
Put my face on my shirt. I'm so shy. I
was going to say you certainly you're coming across as a wallflower.
Yeah, I'm a little bit reserved and
yeah.
No, it's a little odd, honestly, to be honest with you. At the meeting last week, a dude wanted my autograph in his autograph book, and I'm not used to that, And so I understand. I do. It's a little, like I said, it's strange to be looked at like that as a semi, mini celebrity thing, and people wanting to talk with you and to meet you and all that sort of stuff. But I understand what it is, and I think when people connect with you and something you're saying, it just means something to them to have a connection with you personally via email or phone call or in person. So I totally understand it.
And I guess that you mentioned that you sort of try and connect with people on that human level, and
Right.
and do you think that's a bit of the old religious training or the old pastor coming out in you? Is there a little bit of that? I guess maybe without the religion.
It could be. I think I've just always had that kind of a personality. Even in my pastoral ministry, I was very much a people person. I got down in the trenches with them. I wasn't, all about theology and teaching. I did like that. I did a lot of that, but I really was more about connecting with people on a personal level. And I think that's the thing about atheism and Christianity. We are who we are. Jesus didn't make me a better person. I'm not a better person because I'm atheist. I'm just who I am. And Jesus, I've said this before, Jesus never changed anyone. I mean, you are who you are. And if you get better, if you become a better person, it's because you made yourself a better person. You thought through the things you were doing and not doing and decided, you know what, I'm going to do this differently. I see how the way that I did negatively impacted that person. I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to do better than that. And we can make ourselves better. In fact, that's the only way we can do it. There's no deity that's helping us be better people. So I've just always had the personality that I have, and that's just, I draw my energy from connecting with people, and so that's transferred from Christian ministry to atheist ministry. What's always a pastor, right?
Oh, that's it. It's one of those things. Unfortunately, you can't get away from it sometimes, can you?
Yeah, I guess not.
No. So do you find that, I guess, knowing what's going on in your life, do you find that people can be a bit awkward around you, not know what to say, or, how do you find that? And I guess, is there any techniques you have, I guess, to ease that, or,
No, I think I just try to be, I try to be very open and just meet people where they are. If they're outgoing, then I connect with that. If they're reserved and shy, then I try to draw them out and ask questions. You know what? Most people appreciate when you ask questions about them. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your life. That's how I draw people out. Just getting them to talk about themselves rather than listen to me yet again talk about myself.
Sounds like some. I remember a very wise friend of mine told me when I turned 18, if you ever want to talk to girls, what you do is you go up and talk to them about themselves, and they'll think it's the most interesting conversation they've ever had. So maybe there's some wisdom in that advice. Now, everyone who's in the chat, the chat is kind of going off at the moment. I'm doing my best to keep up with what's going on while having the conversation. If anyone does have any questions, please do send them through, and we'll definitely.
One, Chris, that I think floated by, and it said, "What does Dave think happens after we die?"
Okay.
Did you see that one? Yeah.
I didn't, but I actually did have that in my notes. So I guess what your thoughts on, well, probably I guess what your thoughts are after death, but mortality in general.
Well, the thing that's interesting about what I've been talking about and the shift that has happened, the shift that happens, I don't know what your brand of Christianity was, but mine was evangelical, and that obviously involves heaven and hell, and this life is preview for the next life, eternal life, and everything's about eternal life. And so having the realization that this life is the only one we have makes it much more valuable. Every moment counts. Every day counts. This isn't a warm up for the show. So that causes us to live life differently, and to think through what we're doing and how we're doing it. In terms of death and what's after death, I don't know, and the reality is no one knows. It's the great unknown. It's the curtain that we don't come back from, and so what's beyond that, to me, the way I'm viewing my life now, is unknown, and honestly, it doesn't matter to me because I don't know what's next, and I won't have any awareness of what's next. Once I'm there, I'm not going to be aware that I'm dead now. Damn it! There's no heaven, no hell. What now? There's not going to be anything. That's my view. It just the lights go out and we're done.
What if you see the pearly gates? Do you go into a panic?
No, I'm gonna say, hey Peter, take me to God. I got some questions. He needs to give me some answers.
Yeah, he's got a few things to answer for,
Yeah.
I think. So I think we can all agree that's not likely to happen.
There's my friend Kristen from Sweden. Hey girl, she's asking, when am I going to be back on this experience? Yeah, I'm going to be there in March, third week of March. Check my calendar on daveoutloud.com. I'm on those shows in March. I think around the 25th, something like that.
And also wanting to know when she can book some accommodation for you in Europe. Oh, sorry, when are you coming to Europe?
Yeah, I'll be in Europe, England. Got gigs in England and Amsterdam and Germany, and we're going to be over there starting in mid-May through the end of June.
Well, it's not that far to jump on a plane. It's only a short sort of 8-hour ride down to Australia after that. So.
No, I think we'll just make a world tour, right?
Yeah, yes. Why not? If you go around, well, actually, I was going to say you can go around the world. You'll end up back in the US, but unfortunately, the Earth is flat and Australia doesn't exist. So we'll explain that one when you get a bit closer. We let people in on that secret. So I guess obviously you have been getting out there and you've been speaking with a lot of people. Are there any interesting people who would you say is some of the more interesting people within the atheist community that you've met? Who are some of the characters?
Oh, geez. Everyone, we're all so different, and I love meeting. Matt Dillahunty does the Atheist Experience, and he's been a known entity for a long time, and I've known of him. We didn't meet until last year, and I just enjoyed meeting him, getting to know him, spend some time with him. And so people. Also, Dan Barker. He was one of the first. He's helped found the Clergy Project. He's also an ex-clergy, and he and his wife run the Freedom from Religion Foundation out of Madison, Wisconsin. And I was up there a month ago doing his TV show. And again, he's someone I'd known for years, through online and through the Clergy Project. And so getting to meet in person and hang out, just a genuinely warm person. And a good soul. I saw someone asked naturalism and philosophy if we have souls. I have no idea. I don't even know what a soul is. I love soul music. Hey, best name ever, Kristen. You're the most interesting one, but I haven't yet to meet you, darling. So I can't say I've met you, but we're gonna make that happen.
I just thought you were building up to that. You were saving the best for last.
Yeah, I am. And so when we meet, you'll then be the most interesting one I've ever met. Kristen, best name ever.
So how far have you traveled so far? Obviously, Europe's coming up in June, but what is it? Just been US, North America so far?
Yeah, well, Canada. We went to Toronto, and we're going to Canada again in April to Vancouver. It's I'm really excited about that. It's a conference on religious trauma, the first one, and it's way overdue because there's so much religious trauma associated with this world I've been living in. But yeah, we've done Canada. We're in mostly the Midwest last year: Austin, Kansas City, Houston, Philadelphia. I'm missing a lot of places. We're going out west a lot this year: California a couple of times, Utah. But yeah, and then England and Europe. So it's fun. It's fun.
Is there anywhere that you had always wanted to visit that I guess this has allowed you to? I guess this speaking to it has allowed you to now visit. Is there any one of those sort of quirky towns that had always held an interest for you?
Wow. No. I want to go to. I've been a lot. I traveled a lot, even, and I've lived a lot of years. So. No, there's really nothing that I can think of offhand. I mean, I'm excited about going and seeing some places in Europe, and Amsterdam has always had a special appeal for me. So that's really cool that I'm going to be there. I was actually born in Great Britain. My father was in the service, and so I was over there in Cambridge. So I'm going back to. I've been there since then, but I'm going to be seeing England again and Dublin, and hoping to get to Scotland. That's a place I've always wanted to see. So maybe I'll pop up.
Rolling hills.
What's that?
Rolling hills and very, very odd food.
Yeah, I bet. I've heard that.
But I will say this, and I say it with my hand on my heart: try the haggis.
The what?
The haggis.
How do you haggis? I don't even. That's
Haggis.
scary, Chris. What is that?
Or if I told you, it would be scarier.
You know, that's the fun thing about traveling. Everywhere you go, they have their special foods. And having the cheese curds in Wisconsin was a special treat. I call it cheese because it squeaks when you eat it, but it's good.
Well, I believe haggis is sheep's liver. It's done like a pate, but then it's boiled in the bladder or something like that. So I don't know if there's anyone who's Scottish or can explain it better than I can in the chat. And we want to scare him, let us know. But it's the best way to describe it. You know, when you have pate, right? Pate?
Yeah.
Pate that tastes like lamb.
Well, I like lamb as far as like in a gyro and stuff. But when you said liver, I got a little squeamish there. Sorry.
Yeah, it's different, but it's the national dish of Scotland. So it's one of those things that you try it once and then you can say, well, I've tried that now and I don't need to ever have it again. So
yeah,
it's a good one. So England, Dublin, Amsterdam, and Germany. You mentioned. So that's a pretty good trip. How long are you going to be doing that over?
Well, we're leaving mid-May, flying into Dublin, and then we're still putting the schedule together. We may add a few more dates since we're going to be over there. And probably be there through June. So probably about a 6-week tour.
Oh, excellent. So hopefully you can get a few more in and really see the sights.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah. So you mentioned your involvement with the Clergy Project, and that's actually, I guess that's something that I'm not involved in, but it's something that I guess is a very dear project for me because I've seen what happens to clergy who get out. How long had you been involved with the Clergy Project for, or have you been involved?
Well, my deconversion was pretty much complete by about 2011, and I joined the Clergy Project. I have to look back, but I believe it was 2012. I became a member and started getting involved in trying to meet other ex-clergy and, just kind of support. It's kind of a support system more than anything else, an online forum just to chat and connect and meet in real life and that sort of thing. And then I became a board member probably 2014 and was in that for about 3 years on the board and helping to guide it. And then I only resigned last year after I got my diagnosis because I just wanted to kind of divest myself of anything that might restrict my movement and being able to go and do what I want to do. But I'm still very involved with them, and in fact, everywhere I go, we end up meeting with. I think we've taken pictures now. I was with a couple of ex-clergy last weekend, and we took a picture. It's on my Instagram and probably on my Facebook too. But we've taken pictures with 5 or 6 of us in the same place that Clergy Project members. So. I've met quite a few of them even on the tour that I've been doing.
And I guess how do you coach people when they're first getting in touch for the Clergy Project? Obviously, when it's all consuming in your life, and potentially your source of income. There's other factors that will come into it. How do you help? How would you normally help, or would have helped someone, I guess, make that transition?
Just try to be there to encourage them in their process. Every one of us have a different process where some of us come out more publicly right out of the gate, some kind of ease out of it. I was lucky in that I wasn't in full time. I wasn't on staff anywhere when I lost my faith. I had already gotten out ministry work and was just working in the secular world. And then I lost my faith. So I didn't have to transition into another way of making a living. I already had that going on. And that's a big challenge for a lot of them is how to transition from that to making a living outside of that. And you just be there to encourage them and help them. More than anything else, you're showing them that it can be done and it'll be okay. Much like you would from anyone losing their religion.
Yeah. Oops, so I'm getting a bit of background noise there.
I've got to plug in. I'm about to lose my power. I just realized, so I may be off screen for a second.
That's all right. I'll sit here and smile at the audience.
Here we go. I just got to find the right chord. Also wanted to mention another organization I've become connected with, if it's okay, which helps people in their life on their own terms. It's called the Final Exit Network. Mm-hmm. And they reached out to me a few months ago, and we're beginning to work together to. They want to become more known. It's kind of been a secret, but essentially it's an organization in the U.S. here where we can't, I don't know what the laws are like in Australia, but in here, if you have a terminal illness and no matter how much you suffer, how long it takes, you can't end it yourself. You have to go until the disease conquers you and you die a slow and painful and agonizing death. And we're more compassionate to our pets here in America than we are to our people. And it's a tragedy, and it's immoral, and it's unconscionable. And this organization helps.
Same in Australia too.
Is it? Okay. Well, this organization helps you take things into your own hands, literally, and walks you through the legal implications, the medical, the financial, all the things that you need to know. And so I'm very happy to be connecting with them because I intend to use that particular service, that organization, when my time comes, whenever that is. Hopefully it's a long way off, and I don't know. But what I do want is the ability to be in control of that, and that's what they give you.
So what kind of, what kind of work are you able? Obviously, there's raising awareness. Is it something where you're actively lobbying politicians and trying to see change, or is it more, something where you're just looking at helping people with the legal ramifications? And I don't want to say, I want to be careful what I say here because I don't want to get anyone in any legal drama. But if you can sort of get the drift of what I'm asking.
Yeah, I can. There are some states that have passed some laws. I think there's 7 states now in the U.S. where they have what they call death with dignity laws, where doctors can assist you once you get to the point within the parameters they have are fairly narrow. You have to be within a 6-month window of your death, attested by 2 physicians. So that's a challenge, and that is not a service that I would use because if I'm in that 6-month window, I'm in pretty bad shape, and so that's probably not an answer for me. A lot of these laws, they're moving the right direction in these states with passing laws, and I want to be involved in helping that because at least it's better than what it has been, but it's not what it should be. And I understand there's all kind of ramifications and safeguards that need to be in place. Anything you do can be abused. I get that, but the Final Exit Network gives you the ability to be in control of your own destiny, and that's what we should have as human beings. This is my life, and you don't get to tell me what to do with it. That's the bottom line.
One of the things we spoke with Marie about in detail last night, I guess it was yesterday morning for everyone else, but was bodily autonomy. And I guess that's there's a lot of factors that would come into that, and I guess I would see that as a part of bodily autonomy, that decision that you'll choose how you live
and when.
Don't. Yeah, exactly. So I guess that would be, is that something you find that there is a lot of support out there for, or is it an easy process? Is it a...
Well, whenever I talk about it in public meetings and whatnot, I don't ever get a negative input from that. That's usually, and I do believe that the the restrictions that we have in place are largely religious in nature. You know, people say things like you can't play God. In other words, God wants you to have a slow and painful death, and so you can't take that out of His hands. You don't want to take that away from God. He wants to watch you suffer.
Yes, we mustn't upset
so you can't play
page.
God, is what they say. God will let you. God will end your life whenever He's ready to end your life. And so, you know, if that's true, then He's a sadistic asshole. Can you say that on the show? I don't know. I just did.
Oh, that's not the worst thing that's been said on the show. So no, we're okay. We'll go off the Australian rules, which here it's midnight, and you can pretty much say what you want on TV. So we'll go with that. It's the other Chris isn't here to say otherwise. So if he pops back in a panicked look, we'll know. But go for it.
Yeah,
we're all good.
So no, I think that I haven't gotten a lot of negative feedback on that when I'm talking about that, because I think reasonable people who are not bound by some religious notion understand that it makes sense for someone who's in a terminal condition, who's going to suffer and come to a slow and painful end. It's compassionate to help them alleviate that. That just makes sense to any rational human being who stops and thinks at it from a human standpoint rather than a religious standpoint.
So do you think ultimately it's religious rationale that is preventing that from being something that's more accessible?
I think it's religious. I think there's an undercurrent of religion that is there. I also sadly think that it has financial ramifications as well. The medical community makes a lot of money off of people late in life who are on medications and in homes and needing care. And I think that there's a pushback from them. You know, don't take my patient away. I'm making a lot of money off that patient in those 2 or 3 years that she or he clings to life. There's my girlfriend.
It's sad to think that it all comes down to money sometimes.
Oh, yeah, it's sad to think of it, but I mean, I think it's true.
Yeah, I guess it's one of those unfortunate realities of the world we live in sometimes. But
there's my girlfriend weighing in. Bevan Jett's my girlfriend. She's in the other room looking on live. She says, as hard as it is to hear Dave talk about the Final Exit Network, which is hard for her to listen to, me dying, I can imagine. I can't imagine not having a way out if you need it. Sadly, that is the case for most people here in the U.S. And that's the reality of it, yeah.
And I guess that raises an interesting point. How are your loved ones, I guess, firstly dealing with the diagnosis, but also as dealing with what you're doing now?
Well, there's two camps there. There's my family and former friends who are mostly religious, and they're pretty much standoffish in terms of what I'm doing. They don't like what I'm doing because I'm pushing back against evangelical Christianity, which they're firmly entrenched in, as was I for many years. So I understand where they're coming from. They believe that I'm criticizing something that's near and dear to their hearts and that they believe is true, and they believe that I'm wrong and that I'm lost and so forth. They're sad about my disease, but they don't know quite what to do with it because they're not sure what God thinks of it. I'm guessing because they're really not talking to me much about it. Now, my friends that are in my life, they're very much involved in my life. They're very sad about my disease as well. But most of the people I do life with and have for the last half a dozen years are in the secular community, and most of them are ex-Christians. And so they understand what I'm doing, and they're very much supportive of it.
I guess probably a hard question, and I apologize. I hope it doesn't come across the wrong way. But are you scared?
No, I get asked that a lot, Chris, and I always.
I was original.
Yeah, no, it's okay, and it's a valid question and one that a lot of people think of because I mean, there is a lot of fear of death in the world. I mean, a lot of people, that's one of their greatest fears is death, and I think I don't know why that is, other than the fact that we often fear what we don't understand. We fear the mysterious. We fear the shadow in the room that turns out to be a sock when you turn the light on. And so a lot of the feedback I've been getting from people is the fact that I'm talking about death in such an open way is kind of pulling the cover off of it and exposing it to the light and saying, okay, it's just the natural result of living. We're living, and now we're going to end living, and that's going to be called death. And so I'm not afraid of that per se. What I'm afraid of is not doing the most with my life that I could have. So I'm afraid more of not living than of dying, because the dying is just the turning out the lights. And I don't want to sound like I'm all got it all figured out and then come across with some false bravado. So that's just how I feel about it, though.
Now, Chris Mallard's asked a question that, your diagnosis came after you came out as an atheist. And I think we did sort of touch on it a bit earlier, but has anyone tried blaming the ALS on your atheism?
No, that not to my face. One of the caveats to my story is that I have a daughter with stage 4 cancer that she's dealt with for 4 years now, and she's a fervent Christian, and so the people in my life who would tie my ALS to my atheism would have a hard time what to do with her cancer connected to her faith. So, of course, Christians can make all kinds of rationales. Well, God's judging me, but he's testing her. You can do anything you want with circumstances, kind of put God into it.
So I guess, look, we've covered a lot of the stuff that you're doing, but something I always like to know is, when you're not doing this, who's Dave? What do you like? What are your interests? What drives you apart from, I guess, from this? What makes you smile?
Oh, what makes me smile? It's a great question. I love life so much, and I love people. I love connecting with people. I always have, and that's the hardest part. Is that will end. I used to do a lot of other things that I can't do anymore. I used to play golf and sports. I walk by the park and I see a pickup football game, and I used to get it. I'm down at the beach. Saw some young bucks playing football, and I thought a few years ago I would have jumped right in there with them in my 50s and been able to compete with them even. And I can't do that anymore. I can't throw a football. I can't hit a golf club. I can't play my guitar. So I sold all that stuff, and those things are gone, and they're never coming back. And so I have to shift what makes me smile. And now what makes me smile is being with a person that I love, a friend that I care about, a sunset that's beautiful, a conversation that's invigorating. It's really just simple stuff, and it sounds so cliche-ish, and I hate that it sounds that way, but it's really true. It really is.
There's nothing wrong with cliche. It's if it is how you feel, it is how you feel. It's I think especially well, from what we've said, or from what you've said and the discussion we've had, it's pretty clear to me that you're a people person, and that you like surrounding yourself with people, and I guess that it's whether it's, I guess, what we would have called back in church, I guess, that pastor's heart, where you're looking to connect with people. Obviously, I'm always wary about using some of these religious terms, but I think some they are very, they're very descriptive and very accurate.
They are.
So that I can see that you sort of do have that, and that there is sort of that. You mentioned the ego, and there's nothing wrong with ego, but there is a lot of that selfless attitude as well, and that sort of wanting to help other people. So I guess for people who want to help you or who want to support you, how can they go about that? What are the best ways?
Well, we've got I see the website there, daveoutloud.com. On the website is a Patreon link where you can support us. Primarily, that support goes toward travel and being able to go and do the things we want to do in terms of reaching people. That sounded very religious, didn't it? We got to reach the world, save the lost.
Unsave the world.
Yeah, unsave the world. Time is short. Well, if we don't fix climate change, time is short. But and that's Bevan has to travel with me, but pretty much anymore. I pretty much need someone to travel with me now to help me manage things and get through the day. You know, little things that kind of can I can get stuck. You know, not able to do the next thing and get to the next place. And so having a travel companion is very important. And so it takes a little more money to do that than it would normally for me. So yeah, the Patreon it goes toward that, and that helps us do what we're doing, the Dying Out Loud thing. And so that's the best way. Get on there. There's a link for the merchandise. There's all kinds of cool T-shirts with my face all over them. And so, you know, who wouldn't want to wear my face on their shirt, right?
Absolutely.
But there's also stuff
in the description too. They're down in the description. So if anybody wants to get to Dave's stuff, it's easy.
Stuff. You can actually buy a shower curtain with my image on it. So who wouldn't want to shower with me, right?
There you go.
Shower with Dave.
Very next purchase.
I've done that. I mean, it's you know, it's one of those unique things. So where are you looking for? Obviously, you've got some pretty cool places you're going to.
Yeah.
And without, I know everyone likes to do the shout out to the city they're in, but where are you really looking forward to going to? What's the one place that you can't wait to get to?
Well, I think we're going to end up in Paris this June, and we're actually, I believe, talking to some new friends. It's kind of fun. I mean, like we talked about earlier, people have seen me on shows or heard me on podcasts, and they've reached out to me. And several people who lived in Nashville. I was in Nashville last year, and now I'm Charlotte here with Bevan, but Nashville was my home, and so people would hear me on shows and realize I live in Nashville, and they would reach out to me because, hey, I live in Nashville too. And so I've gotten to know some people personally in Nashville through the Dying Out Loud stuff, which is really incredible when you think about it. And so a couple of these new friends are going to meet us, me and Bevan, over in Europe this summer, and we're going to spend some time in Paris. And so Paris is the city of love, and I'll be there with my love. And so, you know, that's going to be pretty special.
Excellent. And have you been to Paris before?
No, never have.
Even better. Better. Lots of French food.
Yeah, I don't know.
It'll be better than the haggis, although I guess you've got the escargot and like that. So all these.
Stick to the pastries, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I did. I was in France a couple of years ago. It was the southern part of France. I went to Barcelona and then crossed over the border. So I have been in the country, but not in Paris itself.
So is there anything else? I guess what message would you want people to take away from this conversation, or to take away from what you're going through today?
Well, you don't have to get a fatal illness to live your best life. And so I guess the takeaway is examine the life we're living and ask yourself, is it the life I want to live?
Great message.
And if it's not, then change it. It's really that simple. And we can, all of us, do that. I am aware that not everyone has the freedom to, you know, carpe the fucking diem at the level I am, because you have bills and schedules and responsibilities and families and things like that. But still, you can change the way you look at life if you're not happy with the way it's going. You're the only one that can do that, and so that's the primary message.
It's fantastic. Well, I guess I want to thank you for your time today. It's
yeah, thank you for showing up.
It's quite, I wasn't sure what to expect. I'll be honest with you, but conversation I'm certainly glad I've had for myself, because it certainly puts a lot of things in perspective and makes me want to give myself a bit of a kick up the backside. And I would imagine that it's probably had that effect on a few people. Like I said, I've been watching the I've never seen the chat so active, actually. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's just people having tormenting poor Math Pig. We've got Math Pig in the chat. Math Pig gets blamed for everything. Right. Math Pig's wonderful. He's Irish, so maybe Math Pig, you'll have to make sure that you get to the Irish leg of the tour.
He had to go to work.
Yeah, fucking work gets in the way of everything. That's right.
That's right.
Hey, I mean, Australian Chris. Now Chris Mallard, we're connected on the Twitter and the Facebook and stuff, aren't we? I
believe we are. If we're not, well, I know we are on Facebook. I'll stalk you and I'll get you.
Yeah, let's get connected. And Australian Chris, we'll make sure we get connected because there's an off chance that we will end up in Australia next year. We've got some friends from Australia that are going for Christmas that want us to go with them, so it could happen. So I don't know. I don't know sure if it does that we connect.
Absolutely, we'll definitely connect, and if we can organise something for you, great. But worst case scenario, I'd love to buy you a beer.
Yes, of course you will.
I would love to have you back.
The Australian beer is the best beer.
Huh?
The Australian beer is the best beer in the world. So I'll look after you. I'll show you the sites. But yeah, it'd be great if we can organise some stuff to help fund the trip.
Is that possible?
That'd be great, man. We definitely want to stay in touch, and if we do get over there, then by all means, we'll connect, have a good time.
Absolutely, I would absolutely love that. I'll make sure I do connect with you. I think I follow you on Twitter, but if I'll send you a message anyway. So
I'll make sure I've got you.
Yeah, I'm atheist_pastor. So,
okay.
But I'll make sure that we connect, and yeah, that'd be really good. So wonderful. I think we've actually gone over the hour, so we're in overtime. So
we pay extra for
overtime.
You know, guys, thank you, Chris, for stopping by and helping host and asking all the wonderful questions. Chris is really good. You notice I don't even try; I just step out and let him do it.
No, he's great. That's great, Chris.
And thank you, Dave, for stopping by. You're welcome to come back and be a guest anytime. We do Sci-Fi Saturdays. It's a little later in the morning, so if you want to come hang out and just talk sci-fi with the nerds.
I wouldn't have much to offer there. I'm not a sci-fi geek.
Okay, well, I didn't hear that. La la la. All right, guys, thank you very much.
There's an atheist who doesn't like sci-fi? I didn't think that was a thing.
I know.
You sure you're not a secret Christian?
Yeah. I'm going to come out as a reconvert and make a book tour and speaking tour. Make millions.
Millions.
Yeah. Millions, and then millions on top of millions.
Right. Thank you, everybody, to the chat for showing up and watching the show with us. I appreciate it. You guys stay awesome. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Chris.
And special love to Amanda in the chat, who was saying some lovely things about me. Amanda, I love you too. You're a legend.
She was talking about me. She wasn't talking about me. She was. Well, yeah, she did mention you as that impediment, the speech impediment. I think.
Hey, we're going to go to traffic and weather with Chris.
something about that brooding Australian accent, you know.
There you go.
Brooding.
We love it.
A little Russell Crowe-ish there.
All right, guys, you have a good one. Hang on just a little bit.
Okay, that's a setup.
All right, guys. See ya.